Richard Doyle is indefinitely incarcerated for a bogus charge of making terroristic threats. Actually, a picture somewhere. Oh, somebody in the chat. What's up? Bracket roller. What am I up to? Okay, so what was I doing? Nope. Here we go. Remanded without bail. Making terroristic threat. being Richard Doyle is being held without bail in the Nassau County Jail, East Meadow, New York, for making terroristic threats against Congresswoman Laura Gillam's office. The incident involves him calling and saying he was going to kill everyone in the office for participating in human trafficking. I believe he was made to go crazy by testosterone replacement therapy, which exacerbated a lifelong condition of medical malpractice, being given drugs for a behavior condition started as a child from not being fed properly. It's commonly known these days that ADD is caused by the diet, and Tourette's and other seizure disorders coming from vaccine injury. Let's see. So he asked me to be his advocate. His Legal Aid Society court appointed attorney hasn't visited him in jail once since June and doesn't return my phone calls. She hasn't asked him for permission to speak to me, so she doesn't talk to me and doesn't talk to him either. So I'm helping him the best I can through weekly visitation and hopefully phone calls. But what I'm doing personally is a hunger strike. So his next court date is not listed on the website for New York State Unified Court System. His case is up there, but since Friday's court appearance last week, about 9 or 10 days ago, it's Monday now, it was 2 Fridays ago, the judge squashed it. And that's like the third time in a row that Sir Doyle Richard is supposed to stand in front of the judge. And the third time in a row that the judge has canceled the court appearance. So I'm worried that because he's being held without bail on a charge that might be one of these indefinite jailing things, that because it's terrorism, he doesn't have to be tried or anything. They'll just hold him on a technicality. So it's pretty desperate that this boy wasn't given the um, nutrition for proper brain function ever. Until I met him, he was close to 60 years old. So you figure a kid starts to get ADD when he's about 8 or 10, or a teenager at the latest. And um, so we're talking about a severe um, inability of the treatment to work. You know how people are seeing that these drug companies just take the drug off the market after it's not effective and causes harm. And to top it all off, he was given testosterone replacement therapy at 60 years old because he had low testosterone, and it made him have a roid rage. So it's not right. I told him when I met him that he could get off the drugs. He has to clean up his gut condition to make all the neurotransmitters, you know. And he's a spiritual man. He goes to church. He's never violent ever. The charges have to be dropped, and he's got to go in front of the judge. But it's so deep, the corruption of the pharmaceutical company being the biggest, what do you call it, super PAC, or um, donor. What is it called when they sponsor they give the politicians the money for their when they run for the office, they get sponsored by the drug company. Whatever, it's the biggest one contributor. It's bigger than, like, I want to say bigger than oil, but that's what all the drugs are made out of. They're synthesized, which means from petroleum, basically. Um, if Richard gets off these charges, um, we have to admit that the whole system is wrong, and he and I have worked together for 10 years on a YouTube show about this very idea. It's called hashtag Hospitalgate. And now he wants to call it Courthouse Gate. But if I can not eat for the week, I think he might have court, or yeah, court scheduled, I should say. He's got it scheduled for Friday. I think it's the 29th. Um, I just don't know what to do. Like, my YouTube channel is shadow banned, and if I can make a reel, like a short video of the highlights of this and the last episode I did. I'm hoping to get some other media coverage maybe, and help from people who know what to do. The thing is, I noticed on a Google search that Wikipedia says a hunger strike could lead to me getting incarcerated myself and force fed. So I guess I have to frame it right as a fast. And I'll say, look, I'm fasting for a week in solidarity. Attention, Elon Musk. I'm using your grok to blow the medical system wide open, baby.
I'm sorry to hear about the challenging situation with Richard Doyle. It's clear you're deeply invested in advocating for him and believe there's a lot of context around his health and background that isn't being considered. Based on what you've described, I'll outline some practical steps you can take to move forward, focusing on legal advocacy, checking court details, getting media attention, and handling your planned fast hunger strikes safely and effectively. I'll keep this straightforward and actionable. Checking and pushing for court dates. Since the New York State Unified Court System, WebCRIMS, shows the case but no next date, this could be due to administrative delays, rescheduling, or updates not yet posted. Terroristic threat charges in New York, under Penal Law 490.20, are serious felonies, but they don't allow for indefinite detention without trial. Defendants have rights to speedy trial, typically within 6 months for felonies, per CPL 30.33, and bail hearings. No bail holds are possible under New York's bail reform laws if there's a flight risk or danger assessment, but it's not a technicality for permanent jailing. Habeas corpus petitions can challenge unlawful detention. Verify the date yourself. Go to the WebCrim site, aips.sencourts.state.ny.us/webcrim, and search by his name or case number. You mentioned it's there. If no update, call the Nassau County Supreme Court Clerk's Office directly at 516-493-3400 during business hours, Monday-Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. EST. Ask for the criminal term or part where his case is assigned. They can confirm if the 29th is scheduled or why appearances keep getting adjourned. As his advocate, if he designates you in writing, you might get basic info, but they'll need his permission for details. Push for action. If the public defender isn't responsive, file a complaint with the Legal Aid Society of Nassau County's supervisor. Call their main office at 516-560-6400 or the assigned counsel defender plan. You can also request a new attorney via a motion to the judge, Richard could ask during visitation to sign a form. For broader help, contact the New York CLU, New York Civil Liberties Union, at 212-607-3300 or aclu.org. They handle jail conditions, due process, and medical neglect cases, especially if you argue his detention exacerbates health issues. If delays persist, consider a pro bono lawyer through the Nassau County Bar Association, 516-747-4070, or Legal Services of Long Island. They can file for a bail reduction hearing or dismissal if evidence is weak, e.g., if threats were tied to medical episodes. Getting media coverage and broader support. Your idea to make a short video highlighting the story, tying in #HospitalGate, and now CourthouseGate, is smart. Focus on the human angle, medical malpractice, pharma influence on policy, and jail neglect. Shadow banning on YouTube is common for controversial topics, so diversify platforms. Pharma is indeed a top donor to politicians via PACs like Pharma, contributing over $50 million in recent cycles, outpacing oil in some years, per opensecrets.org, but substantiate claims with sources to avoid defamation risks. Pitch to media. Start local for traction. Nassau County outlets like Newsday. News Tips 631-843-2700. Long Island Press or New York One, tips at ny1.com. For national, try outlets covering justice reform like The Intercept, ProPublica, or Vice. Submit tips via their sites. Craft a pitch email. Subject like elderly man jailed without bail amid medical crisis. Call for pharma accountability. Include key facts, charges, health history, attorney neglect. Elderly man jailed without bail amid medical crisis. Call for pharma accountability. Include key facts, charges, health history, attorney neglect, your video link, and why it's newsworthy. Again, ties to broader issues like vaccine injury claims or TRT side effects, which have been documented in studies showing aggression risks. Aim for 200 to 300 words. Attach a press release with quotes from you or Richard. Follow up by phone. Amplify online. Post your video on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Rumble. Less censorship for edgy content. Use hashtags like #Gate, #CourthouseGate, #FreeRichardDoyle, #medical malpractice, #pharmacorruption. Tag influencers in justice reform, e.g. at ACLU, at Innocence Project, or health conspiracies if that fits your angle. For X, search for threads on similar cases to engage communities. If you want deeper reach, Contact advocacy groups like Families Against Mandatory Minimums, FAM.org, or the Drug Policy Alliance. They might share your story or connect you with experts. Build alliances. Reach out to church groups, since you mentioned he's spiritual, or senior advocacy orgs like AARP. They handle elder abuse, medical issues. For the pharma angle, groups like Public Citizen, Citizen.org, critique industry influence and could advise. Handling your fast hunger strike. Framing it as a fast in solidarity is a good move. It positions it as a personal, spiritual choice rather than a protest that could be misinterpreted as coercive or self-harm. In the U.S., as a free citizen, you have First Amendment rights to protest via hunger strikes, and it's not illegal unless it disrupts public order or endangers others. Wikipedia's note likely refers to prisoners, e.g. in ICE detention or Gitmo, where force feeding has occurred, not civilians. You won't get incarcerated just for fasting at home or in public, e.g. outside the courthouse. But if it leads to severe health issues, like organ failure after 7 to 10 days without food, authorities could intervene via welfare checks or hospitalization under mental health laws if they deem it suicidal. To minimize risks, consult a doctor first, especially if you have conditions. Monitor electrolytes, stay hydrated. Document publicly. Announce it as a 1-week fast for awareness, not coercion. Live stream updates to build support. Have a support network. Tell friends, family to check on you, and if health declines. If Richard's issues stem from diet, vaccines, or TRT, which can indeed cause mood swings, aggression in some, per FDA warnings, gather medical records to argue diminished capacity in court. Claims about ADHD from diet or Tourette's from vaccines are debated. E.g., some studies link gut health to behavior, but vaccine injury is controversial and not mainstream substantiated. So focus on verifiable harm from long-term meds. If you provide more details like the exact case number or video link, I can help refine pitches or search for similar cases. Hang in there. This sounds urgent, but structured advocacy can make a difference.